Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andy Cohen, Senior Vice President of ASI, and I'm joined by Tim Andrews, President and CEO of ASI. Tim, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Andy. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. We are here today to talk about the upcoming show season. Can you believe that we are already just a little more than 3 weeks away from our first show of the year?
I can believe it because I've been waiting for so long for this to restart. ASI Chicago in July was so much fun to get together with people and see people in the industry and really help distributors and suppliers reconnect for the first time. We were the largest, and really the only big show that happened in 21. So yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, it is a very short month away, but I can't wait for it to get here.
That's awesome. And so Tim and I are going to talk about some highlights about the upcoming show season. As I said, we're not far away from our ASI Orlando show, which is January 4th to 6th, a little over 3 weeks away. So we're in heavy planning mode for that and looking forward to seeing everybody there. Tim, what are you most looking forward to at the Orlando event?
Wow. Well, first of all, I think it's time for the industry to sort of unite, re-engage, collaborate in person. I think we've some of us have forgotten how great that in person is. We've had some meetings in our offices, and I've spent some time with friends in the last couple of weeks. And getting back together with people, there's nothing like in person meetings and fun and dinners and collaboration, networking. Being able to see product and hold it in your hand and the camaraderie that comes along with all that. So I'm really looking for the social aspect. Somebody asked me what I was most thankful for at Thanksgiving, and I said the socialization. Being able to see people, and our industry is so built on those personal relationships. And seeing product in person and understanding how it's made and what the decorating options are. And yeah, you can read about that in ESP and on a supplier website, but boy, there's nothing like seeing it in person and really interacting with people. So that's what I'm most looking for. There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to. That I'm looking most forward to, I think.
The energy of it is incredible too. So we've had six in-person events since June through our ASI show group, starting with some facilitate our hosted buyer events, and then as you mentioned, Tim, the Chicago event. We even launched a new hosted buyer event called ASI Show Connects in the fall, which was in Las Vegas. The amazing thing that went through all of them is just people's energy to being with each other. It was incredible every single time, different audiences,
Yeah.
different dynamics, but that same theme, for me at least, always came through. People just enjoying being with each other, as you said, learning from each other in person, which is just so much more difficult to do in this medium, like we are now, as opposed to in person. So I agree with you. Just the getting back together is key.
Yeah, and virtual is great for certain things, for sure. And I just was at a trade show last week in Miami, Florida, because I wanted to see how Florida trade shows were being operated. So I went down to Miami, Florida for a trade show down there. And it was just really, everyone was so excited to see each other. We're going to have almost three-quarters of the top 40 suppliers are going to be in Orlando. We're going to have hundreds of suppliers, but more than three-quarters of the top 40 suppliers are going to be exhibiting in Orlando. They're going to be talking about the inventory that they have in product so that distributors can talk to people. I mean, there's been a lot of concerns, obviously in this holiday season, but for the last few months about inventory. We're gonna have a lot of suppliers talking about what they have in stock, what their new products are, how to avoid these gridlock problems and all that. But that solidifying and that energy level is just that solidifying relationships, and that energy is what really I miss. I mean, it was like so important in this event that I went to as an art trade show down in Miami this past weekend, and it was so vibrant and so exciting. And despite the fact that in Miami at this show at least they were you had to show your vaccination card, and they were requiring masks on the show floor. But it didn't dampen the enthusiasm at all, about all that. So,
Mhm.
and we've shook a lot of stuff up, as you know, Andy, because you're running a very important component of our trade show business, or the logistics part and the operational parts now. We really have looked back, over the last few months and said, what do we need to sort of re-energize these events and do the things that people really want to do at trade shows? And so we've really shaken things up. One of the things we've done is, when we ask suppliers and distributors, what's the most important thing to a trade show to you? It's to get together people. And so we've really shaken it up with that sort of in mind. So there's a lot going on. We've got Orlando on the dates you mentioned in early January, and we've got Fort Worth coming up, in January 31st to February 2nd. And then, of course, Chicago again in July. So there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, we've taken a bit of a new approach to things. Certainly, trying to give people even more opportunities to network with each other. some new types of some sessions that will be new. We have a panel session that's going to lead off both show days, and we have a great group of people that will be joining us for that. It's high impact executives in the industry. Our ASI's Vice Chairman Matthew Cohen is going to be leading it. But we have Joanne Lance from Geiger, Nancy Schmidt from AIA, Lisa Hubbard, Vice President of Sales at the Vernon Company, and Trevor Neeson, Logomark CEO. So, Tim, you kind of touched on the ideas of the inventory and the difficulty that distributors are having and suppliers are having in acquiring products. That's certainly one of the topics that this panel is going to talk about, and how distributors can overcome that with their clients. But lots of actionable advice through a panel like this that I think that people will really walk away and be able to go back to their offices with ideas on how to capitalize on new concepts for 22.
Well, that's the most important part. What we've said to everybody in the educational schedule, we got a big education session that I can talk about, sessions. But everything we've said to all the speakers and all the people who are joining us, we want you to focus on the future. Let's not wallow in what we're all living in. We all know about, if I have to read about supply chain issues one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right? So I don't want to hear about that stuff much more. I want to hear about how you get this out of it. What do we do in lieu of it? What's 22 look like? What's 23 look like? How do we start planning now for our businesses to really thrive in 22? And I'm convinced they can. The economy is really bolting back. For anybody who's been traveling or going anywhere or going to do it over the holidays, do it safely. But let me tell you, things are back, okay? The airports are packed, people are moving, business is up. And so 22 is a year where you can really make book, if you ask me. And then you got to think about, okay, how do you get through that and how do you manage through that? I think the second half of the year, my prediction from everything I'm reading, I think we're going to be in a much better place with supply chain things. So we're going to have inventory. And then you look at 23. So how do we really go through substantially in 22 and then 23? So we've asked all the speakers at all of our things, the session you mentioned, I'm very excited about, because it's going to be very forward focused. What's the future look like? How do we get to the future? Because that's what really matters, right? It isn't, all this stuff about hiring frustrations. Yeah, we all got those things, okay? Two things I also want to mention is we're not getting rid of good things we like, okay? So we got after hours gatherings, we got free education as always the day before the 2 days of the exhibitions, and then incredibly important to me in my heart are mini hot dogs back in the ASI show booth. We couldn't have them last year in July or this year earlier in July. They're going to be back. That is Norman Cohen's mother started doing that in the 50s and started having hot dogs so people wouldn't faint on the show floor and would come into the booth. And that's a long tradition we're going to have back. So I'm really excited about that. And then we've got something called the Product Showcase Live, Promo Showcase Live. The industry's hottest products and promotion lines, they're going to be on display Thursday morning. And Joe Haley of our ASI product editor is going to host a first ever interactive promo showcase live. Orlando's most buzzworthy product. So the most buzzworthy, people always say, what's new, what's buzzworthy, okay? Well, that's what's going to be showcased in this, with really great ideas for campaigns. So that's all really exciting about the show, and lots of other fun. We're going to have alligators on the show floor. Like not even human alligators. Like real alligators that they're going to be on the show floor.
You just gave away the surprise.
Oh, is that a surprise, Andy? I'm sorry.
You gave it away. No, it's not really.
They're alligators. How can you give away an alligator?
It's going to be a cool experience,
and it's going to be very well done. But anyway, a lot of fun stuff you've not seen on a show floor before, and so on ours. And we changed things up. We've had some people on social media say, "Oh, they are going to have a keynote speaker." We've been blessed to have a lot of great keynote speakers. We've got a whole keynote speaker lineup with the people you mentioned, which are 3 very important top executives at top 40 distributors, joined by Trevor, who's a good friend of mine at Logomark. And so we got lots of great people to hear and learn from in the industry. So.
No doubt. And, along the lines of products, you talked about surveying attendees and what they want. And, networking, obviously very important, learning from each other, but also speaking to suppliers and finding out about what the new products are going to be, what the slate of products are going to be. And vitally important today, what's in inventory, what can be shipped tomorrow so that I can have these 1,000 hats that I need. And so that promo showcase live is really going to be important. I think it's an important session for people to be going to on that morning of the second day of the expo, because it'll showcase products that suppliers are are looking forward to talking about, and that really that means that they have them and that they're hot and that they're important to the slate for 22. So that's it's certainly something that I think people will enjoy seeing.
Yeah, and kicking off the year right. I mean, we're the first show of the year, the biggest show on the East Coast. I mean, this is really going to get people kick-started for the year, which is really important.
No doubt. Okay, so Tim, we've got gators, we
Yeah,
have hot products, we have advice for people to go back to their office with.
yeah.
Um, we have networking, we have interaction with suppliers. Clearly, we have a very busy event. But Tim, what about safety? Obviously, safety is top of mind to everybody today. New variants that are out there that certainly everybody's hearing about on the news. But what are we doing as far as safety is concerned to ensure that that people have a safe environment with us in Orlando?
Great question. And obviously, we're taking this very seriously. We are really doing a lot of research. We are involved in trade show associations that are helping us be advised on what we should be doing and what we should be not doing. Yeah, and then really the safety and well-being of exhibitors and attendees and the community overall is the number one priority. So coming to the show and having a great time is incredibly important, but you've got to do it in a very safe manner so that people are really, safe. You mentioned a little earlier that earlier this year we had 6 in-person events. We learned a lot from those things. We had 4 hosted buyer events and we had a terrific ASI Chicago. So we really have learned a lot in that, and a number of us have traveled to trade shows in the last couple of months to sort of see, how are they operating and what are they doing. So we've been working really closely with the convention centers and all of the contracted hotels and also all the contractors. People, it's sort of invisible. Trade shows are a mysterious thing for people that aren't involved, like the two of us and our teams are. But the fact is, we have probably a dozen or more contracts with different kinds of providers of services to us at the shows, registration and hotels and the convention center and et cetera. So we've been working with all of them to make sure that the safety measures are in place and that they're updated as we get closer to the show. And so we're following CDC recommendations and guidelines, and also all the state, federal, and local government mandates as well. As of today in the city of Orlando, it does not require face coverings. It encourages those who are not fully vaccinated to wear one for sure. And I certainly would tell people they should wear a face covering if they're not fully vaccinated. I've had friends, we've had employees that luckily were not in the office and will not be traveling that have over the course of the last couple of years have had COVID. And it is a terrible thing. We don't want to wish that on anyone. My neighbor actually passed away. So, wearing a face covering to offer some level of protection if you're not vaccinated, and to get vaccinated if you're able to, based on your medical advice. So, our policy is that you should be wearing a face covering if you're not fully vaccinated, if you're on the show floor and in meeting spaces. The Orange County Convention Center, which is where our event is hosted, is been called North America's premier location for safe in-person events. They take it very seriously. We've got lots of safety details that people want to drill into on our website at asishow.com. But a few things that I really also want to mention. 100% of the ASI staff that you're going to see there is fully vaccinated. Every single person is fully vaccinated if they're traveling to our shows. We've told our staff that are not yet fully vaccinated. We're at about 92, 93% of our staff is fully vaccinated already. But all the people traveling are going to be. The Orlando Convention Center employees are fully vaccinated unless they're exempt to medical or religious reasons, and they're all required to wear face masks. All the ASI vendors, I mentioned that we've got a lot of vendors on the show floor that are helping us out, putting down, carpet, running electric, whatever. They're required to wear face masks, and all staff and registration, face masks going to be a must. You're going to see a lot of face masks around. So if you want to have a level of confidence, you wear a face mask, even if you're vaccinated, you'll feel comfortable. You won't be the only person wearing a face mask. So I want to make sure that people realize that if you want that layer of protection and that layer of additional confidence, you can certainly be. And of course, on the shuttle buses we operate in Orlando, masks will be mandatory on the shuttle buses as well.
Yep, and there's certainly a lot to take in there, as you said, Tim. We're highlighting all of these things on asishow.com, and there's a date right at the top of our safety page that says when we last updated it. So it was, I think, even updated as of this morning. So definitely go there. Things change, and as Tim said, we are following all CDC and state and local ordinances as far as any kind of guidelines that they provide. So we're following those pretty closely, and we'll update accordingly as we go if necessary. But certainly we've put on 6 events, as we said, this year. They've all been very safe, and we feel very good about the fact that our attendees and our guests that have been at the events have felt safe throughout them. So something that we've learned a lot going on this year.
And we're watching really closely. One of the reasons that I went down to Miami was to sort of see how they were operating that event, and they required vaccination cards and they required masks. We haven't adopted that yet, but if we make any sort of radical change like that, we would sort of let people know. But we want everyone to be safe. We want people to leave safe, feel safe, be safe. So that's really a core of this. If we have a wonderful show and then people leave and there's problems, that's not going to be a success for us.
Yep, totally get it. Tim, you teased our education day a little bit earlier, but what other kind of details can you provide as far as education sessions and education day is concerned for Orlando coming up here in a few weeks?
Yeah, well, education is always a very popular thing for everybody at our trade shows. We have 18 classes with tracks in distributor success, social media, marketing, product decoration, which is really interesting, and sort of business building fundamentals, sort of how do you run your business. And we've got power sessions, and that's the first day on January 4th, it's a Tuesday, on education day. And then we've got power sessions on both exhibit days. Something that's really new and very cool. I'm very excited about. None of us can go to all the sessions. We got 18 classes. You can't go to all the sessions. So at the end of Education Day, we're going to close with a brand new interactive session called Tactics and Takeaways. And most of the ASI show speakers are going to recap their most important tips from their sessions. So we're going to have 7 or 8 speakers that'll come in, and they'll give 5 minutes or something on each of their top things. So if you couldn't go to the social media speaker, they'll give the 3 or 4 or 5 minute takeaways. So you'll be able to really get a download of all that, really, and also by the way, be reminded of things that you might have missed in the sessions you even attended. And we're gonna have some fun there. We're gonna have those speakers. We're gonna have mini bundt cakes, which I love, whoopie pies. We're gonna have dessert shooters. We're gonna have coffee, tea, etc. And Andy, you and Michelle Bell are going to be emceeing, I hear. So
We are
really
indeed.
excited.
It's a new session for us, and it's going to close out Education Day prior to a reception that will follow it. But it's good that we're giving people the outlet to see things that they hadn't had a chance to see. So, like you said, there's crossover between tracks, and you can't
Mhm.
always get to all of the sessions. But if you can get to this session at 4 o'clock on Education Day, then at least you can get a little recap from each of those speakers, which is a nice preview for a nice recap for the day.
Are the live Gators going to be there? Do we know?
They will not be there at
Oh,
Education Day. You won't learn anything from Gators on Education Day, but boy, will they be there on the 2 show floor days.
okay.
So I believe they're there for 2 hours on each of the show floor days. Definitely check our schedule on asishow.com for exactly when they're going to be there. But yes, they will be on the trade show floor, and you can maybe you can even take a picture with a Gator, Tim.
Fun. Love it. But of course,
You
that's not all we've got going on. Can I plug a couple of other things that I'm
you
really
sure can.
on Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. at the convention center? We're going to have a new product preview reception with food and drink also. That's really a great thing to do. And
That's
then
right after the session, the wrap up session. So you can go right from wrap up session to new product preview, and you can find out all the details you need from both of those sessions.
don't forget you're gonna have bundt cakes there and whoopie pies. So that's all good. And then you literally roll into more food and drink from 5 to 6 at the product preview reception. And then on Wednesday, after the show closes, at the Rosen Center Hotel, one of the core hotels, we're gonna have a networking connection reception for distributor suppliers. So that's really cool. And then we've arranged with some select hotels and restaurants and attractions. They'll be able to show your badge and get some discounts. So we'll have information at the trade show about that as well.
And one other thing I want to make sure that we highlight for people at the ASI show booth throughout the 2 show floor days, at the 2 trade show days, there's complimentary professional headshots. This has been a very popular thing. We did it in Chicago this past year, earlier this July, and long lines in the sense of people really wanting professional headshots. But it's a great service. You don't often. I can't remember the last time I've taken one, and it's something that people really need for their social media, for any promotions that they're doing, and so this is a service that we're providing to all attendees. So definitely make sure to check that out.
You should get a new one shot,
I
Andy.
know.
I'm tired of looking at your 10-year-old LinkedIn photo.
I know it's bad, and and then people haven't in the last year and a half. They haven't even had the opportunity to do something like that. Yeah, maybe I'll stop and get one too.
We're also going to have a selfie station in the main ASI booth. So that'll be kind of fun. You can get You can shoot selfies, and there's a little contest we're going to run. And we even have a little surprise related to the selfies. So stop by the main ASI booth, not only get your little mini hot dogs and hear about ESP and all the new innovations we have there, but also there's a selfie station there, so you can take some selfie pictures.
There you go. So, how about the rest of 22, Tim? 2022 is going to be a busy year, obviously, for our trade show operation. As we're starting with Orlando on January 4th to 6th, like we're talking about, what else is to come after that?
So the next big event for us is in Fort Worth, January 31st through February 2nd. That's a Monday through Wednesday. That's a large in-person trade show at the Fort Worth Convention Center. It is in the heart of a very vibrant, historic downtown. Registration's open. It is so fun. I love downtown Fort Worth. There's great restaurants. It's all very walkable. The hotels are really close. No transportation is really needed if you stay at one of the main hotels. You walk to the convention center, you can walk out, get a breath of fresh air. It's such a beautiful place, and a lot of action and activity you can do in Fort Worth. And then, of course, ASI Chicago, one of my favorite cities, Chicago, Tuesday, July 19th through the 21st. Registration is going to open next month for Chicago, but make sure and mark your calendar for July 19th to the 21st for Chicago. Great city and great time to be there. Just after the 4th of July, it's a great time to be there. And then we've got also hosted buyer events coming back. So we've got ASI Connects in Las Vegas in the fall. We had over 2,000 meetings that we brokered and sort of arranged between suppliers and distributors this past fall, and it's returning also in September of 2022. You have to be qualified to attend that. And then we have 3 hosted buyer events. We call them facilitates, hosted in 21. We got one in Clearwater Beach, Florida in early March, Salt Lake City in June, sort of mid-June, and in Scottsdale, Arizona from October 17 to 20. So if you are a $1 million producer or close to $1 million producer, email me at tim.andrews@asicentral.com, and we'll put you in the list to be qualified and contacted about coming to one of those 3 hosted buyer events. One-on-one meetings, distributors come for free, suppliers are hosting the whole thing. You really have to pay attention to what they're saying. Got a lot of really important things. They'll show you new products they've got. So there's a lot of really cool things about those hosted buyer events.
Excellent. Okay, Tim. So we've thrown a lot of details at our audience here today. Before I let you go and to the rest of your afternoon, what's one more thing or one thing that you want to highlight for people who are going to be in Orlando, or a reason for somebody who has not yet decided to go to Orlando to ensure that they join us in Orlando? What's your one highlight?
I got 2. Can I do 2?
All right, fine. I'll give you 2.
2, I think getting together again with people in person, there is nothing like being with your friends and your colleagues and the people that you haven't done business with, but ought to be doing business with, or ought to consider doing business with, or people that you've been doing business with forever. And I think that there's nothing like that in person. And virtual is great, and it's a great substitute for that. And certainly using tools like ESP are great, ways to source product. But come out, be safe. I think that's really important. No matter whether you're vaccinated or whether you have not yet gotten vaccinated, be safe in ways that make you feel comfortable and that trusted medical advisors are giving you advice on. So that's one. It's getting together piece. The second piece is, we're in the holiday season, and I would just urge everyone to remember that it's been a very tough year for people. There's a lot of short tempers. There's a lot of customer service issues that people are facing, and it's not the customer service person's fault. It's because of whatever's going on in terms of short-staffed or can't get product. And this is not just in our industry. This is across the board. And just be mindful of the fact that everyone's under a lot of pressure. Everyone's very tense. Treat people the way you would like to be treated, and we'll all come out better in Orlando if we do that during the holiday season, during all the seasons, but especially this time of year. People are really under a lot of pressure, and we're all seeing it. So take care of yourselves. See you in Orlando, and be kind.
Great advice, and something I'm sure that people can certainly heed as they move into the holiday season and as they plan for 22. So, Tim, thanks for joining us here today and sharing some information on the Orlando show in January.
Sure thing, Andy. See you in Orlando.
Take care. See you soon.